Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. It's TK and Arif with Humble Associates.
Good afternoon, good evening as well. Great to be with you on our next or today's event, which is all about agile leadership. It's a really hot afternoon, TK. I am sweating. The
It
temperature,
is.
the temperature's gone up just as school has started.
It
Great,
has. It
but
has. And yeah,
yeah,
especially
happy
when
to
the
be
school is
here.
starting, right? And thankfully, with some great filters I have, you can't see the aircon going in the background. So I definitely don't procrastinate putting it in place because I'm one of the few global warming believers. I'm not a denier. I would be considered a leader in the field, which is what today's session is all about. It's about leading in an agile way and agile leadership. So,
Amazing.
as all of us know, it's based on this wonderful framework called the Leadership Circle, and
Yeah.
yeah, we've been practicing it quite a bit, Arif. So, yeah, what's your experience with that?
No, so we've talked about it in the past before. If you've
Mm,
attended a previous event of ours around the leadership circle profile, you hopefully have some awareness of it already. But yeah, as you said, it's something we use. We help our clients with, our leaders that we work with, support them in their leadership journeys. And I think it's a very probably said it before, so forgive the repetition, but I find it a very comprehensive and all-encompassing tool because it touches on all aspects of how you are leading currently. Not so much
mm,
about, and which is good, which is not it's not so much about okay, this is what you should be doing. No, it's about where are you right now. That's what it's really good for, and assessing all potential kind of competencies and approaches to your leadership and saying this is what's happening for you right now, then opens the door about where do you want to go next, which is the
mm.
beautiful part of it. That's why I really find it quite fascinating, I think.
Quite a good point. And we have Bradley from Hawaii. So, hello, Bradley. Let us know if it's hot
Hello.
where you are. Aloha,
Yeah,
one would say. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I'm sure that the weather's awesome at Hawaii. But wherever you're from, you're most welcome. It must be early in the morning for you. Okay, or how it goes with the time zones. But the leadership circle and what we're going to talk today is talking about this image, which is the three styles of leadership, so the heart, the mind, and the will. And
Right.
we're going to focus on one of them. So, Arif, would you give us a quick refresher on these three styles?
Oh, great. Right. So we've talked about these before,
Yeah,
but
we
yes.
did.
A will, excuse me, a will type leadership stance is really someone who's, approaching their leadership with a lot of authenticity. They are bringing their true self as much as possible into their type of leadership style. So they'll say what they think, they'll say what they believe, and that's what the type of kind of stance they'll bring. A heart type leader generally is looking at the connections, the relationships that they have with their colleagues, with their peers, etc., leveraging those, and they can either work for the leader and provide something positive, but they can also have a challenging impact as well, depending on their situation. And then on the other side, we've got the bicep there. We're talking about a very task oriented. They are very much focused on the work, the activity, ensuring that the quality of outputs, deliverables, etc., all of that
Mhm.
is happening as it should, when it should, and that's a real important focus. And so commitment to the work, commitment to effort, and that kind of thing is critical in how they lead, and that's where their strongest feet are, or that's the positioning that they'll take.
Good point, Arif. And I think, these are quite important. And last time we spoke, we broke them into smaller
Yes.
chunks, and we'll be talking
Yeah.
about some of them today. But today we want to focus on the hard type of a leader. So, a hard type of a leader is a leader, as it's written here, that really builds on the way they're perceived by the environment. They really focus on relationships and emotions, and they make sure that they derive the value out of how others view them. So, Arif, do you remember working with some hard type leaders yourself?
Yeah, I think I've worked. I'm trying to think of someone right now who was very much into. I mean, he was a great mentor, a really good mentor, and I think that's partly where some of this came from for him, is that he was really invested and interested in building the right relationship with people like me who are at that time quite junior, limited experience, and it wasn't so much about him succeeding in the role, but it was more making sure everyone else was succeeding, creating an environment where people like me and others who weren't so experienced were able to flourish and had the support they needed in order to get achieve the goals that we were set. So I really, really appreciated his leadership stance. And one of the things that really stands out for me is he really stood back on a lot of times and let me really push out of my comfort zone and do things which I was not comfortable with. It created a whole, kind of experience of imposter syndrome and all of that going on for me, which was quite interesting. And when I was stuck, I would just go to him and he would just pull up a chair, right, let's have a chat. And then he in a true coaching fashion, asking me questions, what's going on, what's happening, and then allowing me through some nudging and through a bit of mentoring slash coaching get to the right answers. But for him, it was very much about making sure the people in his team were supported. They were, feet. They were able to find their feet themselves. The relationships between him and us were really crucial to him in making sure we were successful. So if there's anything going wrong and we're not happy, we're not comfortable, whatever, he was more than happy to have a chat, and he'd pull up a chair anytime, pretty much. It was great. It was a great learning experience.
I, for one, am maybe not entirely compatible with hard type leaders. Being a mind type leader myself, I remember having leaders of a hard type, and maybe I wasn't ready for working with them, for embracing their warm, embraces, and as you said, getting a chair. But if any of you wonderful viewers experienced working with a hard type leader, do let us know in the comments or give us a
Yes,
thumbs up or a heart.
yeah. Well,
Always happy for
one
that. Go
thing
ahead, Arif.
we haven't talked about in terms of the heart, the other side of it, at the bottom half of the leadership circle profile, what happens, what can happen to a heart type leader, right? And so I've not had too much exposure to this, but the important thing to call out in this description that you can see is that they can easily fall into that situation where they are pleasing other people. I have worked with a leader recently where he openly was describing some of that challenge for him, where he was so invested in everyone else that he neglected himself to the extent where it was more important that everyone else was happy, and he wasn't able to really vocalize his needs and tell his manager what was important for him, and he felt that was inhibiting his career growth. And where his next step he wanted to be in terms of his leadership journey. That was really difficult for him, but it was important that he shared that so we can really understand where he wants to work and what could happen next for him.
No, very good point,
it's
Arif.
important to, yeah,
And
exactly.
I think if we look at how the leadership circle looks like in this area, we've got complying, relating, and self-awareness, right? And the interesting thing is, I wanted to talk about these. So complying first, and you've talked about this, Arif, just now. It's in this case, it's the extent which a leader gets a sense of self-worth and security by complying with the expectations of others. Now, this can be really hard, and some organizations actually reinforce that. There are organizations that really work on complying. You might, say it's a public sector. You might say it's hospitality, but some places really focus on complying much. And the leaders that survive, unfortunately, dig into that quite a bit. And Arif just said how you could experience that. But there's more. There's some more proactive and more creative aspects of this style. One is the relating. So if you look at that, it's the leader's capability to relate to the others the way that they bring the best in people, groups, in organization. Isn't
Yeah,
it a very aspirational goal, Arif?
yeah, yeah. No, well, it is. It's very important, I think. And going back to some of what we were just saying, as you've got it here, the relating bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, if you are in charge of people management, right? And if you are a leader watching this today, then you'll know this more than even TK and I to some extent. So I've had some limited experience with people management. Those you're managing really are looking up to you, and they see you as a guide, and they'll see you as an example of what leadership looks like. So if you're not able to relate to them, and you haven't got that ability to do that, or you're not in a position, you got to ask yourself, how are you going to set the right example? How are you going to demonstrate what good leadership looks like if they are not able to connect with you and look to you for guidance, for that kind of north star of what leadership looks like? I think that's just a question we should ask yourselves, right? What do you think, TK?
Well, it's a very good point, and I think all styles of leadership have that. We have Angela actually saying being a hard leader means solving impediments on
Right.
long stages. Usually, a hard leaders are not afraid to hurt the feelings. Well, there you go, right? Yeah, there you go. When vocalizing the problem immediately. So you're right. Theoretically, a great leader is a leader that has the balance, being able to achieve that. But unfortunately, Angela, what you will see is we usually fall into one of these categories. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the thing is not trying to be everything for everyone,
Yeah.
but understanding your side, your type of leadership, and being able to make the best out of it. Because if, for me, for instance, a hard type will not be something natural, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I might get
I,
myself
I
to do
think
that, but after a while, you'll probably see if someone's not
I,
natural.
I think that's a really good example you've just given about yourself, TK,
Yeah,
where you, as you said, you are very, we know each other quite well, and you're very good at calling out when you're not happy with something and something is wrong, right? The challenge obviously is that if that is your stronger suit, shall we say, um, it can be difficult to then play also into that heart type role where you're thinking of everyone else and relating to people,
point. Yeah.
because there can be some conflict there where if you're always on that front foot of I need to be clear about what I don't like, then it can affect relationships. And so there is that balance. And I don't think we've ever, between us in the work we do, come across a leader who's very, very good at being able to do both, right? Um, I know
Unless they're
I
pretending,
struggle.
which some
Exactly.
people do, and after a while, in complex circumstances, when the
It'll
leader
come
has
out.
to really take leadership actions, they will
Yeah,
fall somewhere.
exactly. It'll come out. It'll become very apparent very quickly. I can talk from experience myself. I know you between us. I find it difficult to sometimes be open about things I don't like, but I'm very um, comfortable with making sure everyone else is okay as well.
So
And
there you go,
carrying people
right?
with me is very important to me. But when it comes to telling people openly what I don't like, or I'm not happy with this because of X, it's not always easy. So
And actually, yeah, this
there's
is
some
an
examples
example
just
of the
from us.
next
Yeah.
quality of a hard type leader, which is amazing, which is actually self reflection. And we
Yes.
definitely play
Yes.
on self reflection quite a lot in
Yeah.
Humble Associates in our leadership training and coaching. So, what is self awareness and why is it so important, Arif?
Well, but I mean, this is exactly so. If you are, I think people in the agile coaching world probably quite familiar with this
Hmm.
as a trait, shall we say, and we talk about it a lot. Um, but it's not something I think we all naturally carry, right?
No.
As we've just given in that terms of that example that we were just describing, for example, between just the two of us in our different styles of leadership, it's if you're always on that, okay, I need to be very open and clear about what I like, what I don't like, what I'm not happy with, etc. You might not always be aware enough about how your behavior is then impacting other people. So and that's how I would describe it, or that's an example I would give. And so to be able to really be aware, it's about being cognizant about, okay, when is the right time for me to say something? How do I say it? And who do I say it to? Am I going to just say what I really don't like in front of the client, right? Just because I need to? Is it the right time? Or do I need to take someone aside and find out what's going on before I share what I really think? There's all this nuance to it, right? Now, and some people are much better than others at that.
Some people are, and reading the room is a skill, but here we're definitely talking about reading yourself. So
Yes,
being
yes,
able
yeah,
to
yeah.
understand your own emotions, your own state of being, and like we're demonstrating hopefully today for you, is being able to understand where you are, what are your strengths that you can definitely lean on, but also where are your blind spots, so you don't fall into them, because it's only natural for you to do, right? So if we'd love to hear from you, wonderful viewers, in terms of like what you think about these three, because we'll take a deeper dive now into the leadership circle, and we will talk about the individual dimensions of the leadership circle when it comes to um, this hard type thing. So I've used a bigger slide right now because there's some. So let's start with this one over here, the personal learner.
Okay.
Yes. So what's important about being a learner yourself, Arif?
I don't know. Can we zoom in on that? It's quite difficult to see, isn't it?
Well,
For
yeah,
our
that's the
viewers.
thing. I'm on the slides, and okay, so let's skip this one. And
Okay.
yeah, you've also got compromise, balance, and so on. I'll read them out loud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
So
So
yeah, so
we've
we've got
got
personal
yes,
learner, compromise, balance,
yes,
selfless leader.
yeah.
Now we've also got. I didn't anticipate the fact that it will just change the resolution so much. Um, okay, so let's use some, because to be honest, I don't remember all of them. There are so many in the leadership circle, but there's some interesting ones down here that I would like to touch upon. So we've got
Okay.
passing, passive, belonging, and pleasing. Right? We talked about pleasing a bit, but when it comes to belonging and one thing that I find interesting, Arif, and I would like to understand what you think, is
Okay.
that belonging is down below. Why do you think belonging might be on the reactive side?
Well, so this is a really interesting. Yes. So some of these pleasing, belonging, passive.
Mm,
Belonging, especially, you would think, oh, we talk a lot, and it's very common now. You hear a lot about, oh, employees need to feel like they belong in
yes.
an organization, right? We hear that, and that's probably very true. Yes, you need to feel like you are valued, and that your worth is noted and is
Mm-hmm.
valued by the organization you work for. I think that's very important. I don't think anyone would disagree on that. Where it can get into the reactive side, I think in this example here, or what the LCP is trying to talk about, is where, okay, that becomes the be all and end all. Well, so maybe that's a bit of a harsh way of saying it, but that becomes overly important to you. Excuse me, overly important to you in respect to others instead
Mm-hmm.
of other elements of the profile, for example, or other traits, right? So that you prioritize this more than anything else. So, okay, I need to feel like I belong here,
Mm-hmm.
but my belonging is so important to me that anything that even hints at me not feeling like belonging means that I am strong. I will not be able to be productive and be who I am
Mm-hmm.
and how I need to be in the workplace. So that's where we can get ourselves into that passive kind of state. That's how I would say it.
That's a good point, Arif, and I think the sense of belonging, the need for belonging, is important for all of us. And I think the leadership cycle is just maybe highlighting
I mean,
that we can
just
sacrifice a lot for it. Yes.
very quickly, another side of it
Hmm.
is your need to then follow what this LCB talks about is your need to then conform as well.
Oh, yes.
That's part of it. Yeah, conforming to the rules, the social structure that exists in that organization, etc. If that's really important to you to hold on to that may inhibit your ability to be
Mm.
productive. That's what
And
we're
it's
talking.
also
That's
quite
sales.
interesting when I see this, Arif, when you actually would see that conservative is being
Yes.
chosen as a value that's actually a bit of a reactive side. So why do you
Yeah.
think that is the case?
Again, it's a similar kind of thing here, where
Mm.
it's playing within the rules, right? I don't want to risk anything. I don't want to do something that may be frowned upon,
Yeah.
right? I must follow the process, right? Because that's important. And if I don't follow the process, I may get in trouble. We're not talking about rule breaking, right?
Yeah.
But there's some that element of conservatism may inhibit your ability, maybe to sometimes on the other side of the leadership cycle complete the task,
Good
right?
point. Yeah.
So if we look, we haven't got the full circle here, unfortunately. But if we look on the other right-hand side, the opposite side,
I'll
on
try.
the from a task point of view, okay, what effort are you going to put in to get the task done,
Mm.
right? But if you're playing the achieving side, there we go. So if we look at the achieving side, and then you've got this complying. So if you're being conservative, and that's really a high trait for you, it
Hmm.
may inhibit your ability to achieve the work because you may not push beyond what needs to be done in order to get work done.
It's
I'm
a
not
very
saying
good point,
either is
Arif.
good or
Yeah.
bad. I'm not saying either is good or bad. We're just saying how they can conflict with each other, right? Right, TK?
Absolutely. And, some things in the creative side with the low resolution we have, which I haven't necessarily, well,
We'll correct this for next time. We'll
we
get this better
most
next.
certainly
Yeah.
will.
So
And if you go
apologies.
to the
Apologies.
Leadership Circle website, you'll actually see the full circle. But I'm
Yes.
sure for the next episode, I'll have learned my
Well, maybe
lesson.
we'll send it in the in
In the
our email
materials,
follow up.
yes, you have
Maybe.
a full
Yes. Yeah.
resolution thing
We'll
in the
put it in
slides. If
there.
you register, you will get the slides, so you can download them if you'd like. But I wanted to talk about there's a very interesting thing here, which is selfless leader. Right, so
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's very close
Yeah.
to being a servant leader. So Arif, why is it so important for us, the practitioners of change?
Yeah. I think it's because it's the opposite of. So if we're working in a very traditional organization, perhaps, or a very traditional environment where the leadership style that is typically valued, it has a more, let's say, directive style
Mhm.
to it. Yeah, where tasks are directed at employees and work is handed down. That can perpetuate a leadership style or an environment where it's very important that you are successful.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
I've
can
seen
happen.
some, yeah.
So now to create an environment where we want everyone to win and everyone to be successful, right? That's very different because we're now talking about high degrees of collaboration, team coming first, and it's not about the individual. So with that kind of environment, a selfless leader is very well suited because they are more not so much interested in self-interest, but they're interested in the whole team winning.
That's a
So
very
it's the
good point,
team
yeah.
game, it's a team sport. It's not about me being successful and my project winning or getting done quicker or whatever it is, right? So there's a
Yeah.
complete difference in how we look at that style of leadership. And then obviously that means it's linked to the self-awareness point as well, right? Because the wider
Absolutely is, yeah.
self-awareness point. If you
You
are
can
very
actually see it here,
self-aware,
yeah.
yeah, it's right there. So it's part of that. So if you're, it comes under the self-awareness point. If you have that high degree of self-awareness, and then, because you're looking at not just yourself, but you're also looking at your whole team and the people who work with you or around you. It's really important.
So one
So
thing that
personal
yeah.
ambition is less important, essentially. Yeah.
So one interesting question there, Arif, is like we've talked about a few aspects of a hard type leader, but one thing that
Yeah.
I think is interesting to a lot of our viewers is how does it relate to agility? Like, agility as defined,
Right.
so which of these aspects can actually grow or hurt agility when you think about the aspects we've talked about in the hard type leader?
I I would love if any of our audience would like to
Yes.
add their thoughts. So if any of you are watching and you've heard TK's question, from what we've talked about, which elements of the profile of what we've talked about do you think are going to be more suited to agile ways of working? Please put a comment in the chat. That would be great if you can. And let's discuss it at the same time. So just put your thoughts in there. We'd love to see what you think. I
As
think
always.
clearly, there are elements of this relating stance or this heart type leader that are crucial for agility to succeed, right? If agility talks about the idea of self-organizing teams and a group of highly skilled individuals forming a team to succeed to deliver a complex problem, then you need a leadership style that can create that environment for that to be successful, grow those people, support those people. And I think for me, it's very obvious here that that relating stance or that heart type leadership stance is critical. The other side of it is then there is elements, I think, still of the others which are still going to be valuable too, right? I'm not going to say will stance or will type leader is not important here, or we don't need that, and we only need relating or hard type leader. I don't think that's fair, is it, TK? There's going to
No.
be elements that are valuable, but definitely that creative half of the leadership circle, that top half, very important. The reactive side, the bottom half, that's where we're going to have challenges. So that's what we
But
want
there's
to be
some that
aware
are
of.
especially challenging. So, one
Yes,
thing to think about,
go on.
Arif, is the fact that with agility, we have to be open for feedback. We have to be
Yes,
open for self-reflection, but also the reflection about our work, also
yeah,
challenging ourselves. So having composure, having the ability to be self-reflective and not necessarily only complying too much will be very beneficial. Agility is a very, well, it's new, but it's also a revolutionary way of work in the sense that you have to give yourself feedback and you have to be honest about the results you're achieving. And thus, a good self aware and relationship focused hard type leader can do it in a way that isn't disruptive. Because, God
yeah.
knows that I sometimes may have overdrawn things in the feedback department. Whereas actually, it's just important to find the right balance here. And I think lots of people think like, oh, with agility, we're constantly being evaluated, we're right evaluating ourselves. But that's actually true, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's very true. It's very important. The feedback. I mean, if we talk about short feedback loops, if we talk about you need that openness to be able to accept that, okay, something has not worked as we expected. We've delivered some value, it wasn't to plan, or it wasn't what the customer wanted, or whatever it might be. We need to do something different. And if you're not willing to work with that challenge or that complexity, you will struggle. I'm conscious of the time, TK. So
Yes, yes, and we've got two PSAs. So just to
so let
maybe round things up,
wrap
if
up.
you're
Yeah,
interested
yeah,
about hearing more about the leadership circle, we've got something
yes,
for you. So we've got
we
the
definitely
journey.
do.
Arif, tell us about what it is.
No, exactly. So look, we have an offer opportunity if you're fascinated to learn more and discover more about your own leadership stance and the journey that you could go on when it comes to your leadership style. Go onto that website, scan the QR code. There's an opportunity to get a free assessment of your own leadership style, and alongside that, a free coaching session where we would discuss and debrief your assessment and look at where you want to go next with it. So that's an offer for you. Please hit the QR code and visit that URL to find out more. You can see all the information on that webpage and book a session in.
Yep, we've got quite a few sessions happening, and you're probably curious, where do you stand on the leadership circle? Where is your preferred style? And this is a great way of finding out. And finally, in the last minute, we've got something else going on. So next week, we've got the new Agile 101 with, well, Simon Sinek is not with us, sadly. But if you want to start your Agile teams with why, with this big question, join us on the 11th of September at 5 p.m.
Yeah, join us. We'll be talking more about that and why it's important to start with why. But yeah, for today's session, head over to our webpage or scan that QR code if you wanted your opportunity to learn more about your leadership style. Then that's the place to go.
And with that, we'll leave you with the QR code. Have a great afternoon or day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you soon. Take care. Bye.